Real Estate Today. This is a sponsored feature that airs at 8 o'clock every Wednesday morning. And it's sponsored by Howard Johnson Realty Limited of unit number 15 in the Ligony Post Mall in Capital City, Kingston 6 to be exact. This morning's topic on Real Estate Today is the global real estate market outlook. And before I introduce my guests, I want to tell you that the real estate market is ever booming. According to Global Real Estate Rental Market Report 2021, the market is expected to grow by an annual rate of 2.2%. Companies within the industry have been rearranging their operations and recovering from the COVID-19 impact. The pandemic had led to restrictive containment measures that resulted in operational challenges. And we're going to be talking more about this with our guests. Howard Johnson Jr., who is CEO of Howard Johnson Realty Limited, and they are our sponsors of the segment. Good morning and welcome, Howard.
Good morning to you, Richie.
How is it this morning so far, sir?
Well, I'm taking in the inspiration and I'm trying to believe in myself this morning.
Absolutely. We played it with that intention, and I'm glad that you are thinking through as you heard those lines and rhymes.
Yeah, man, resonated.
Absolutely. We're also joined this morning by the chairman and CEO of Croskery Capital Limited. He's also the host of Business Live TV, Mr. Mark Croskery. Good morning, Mark.
Richie B.
What's up?
Joe, how you doing?
Yeah, Mark, welcome.
Man, if I had even half the amount of energy that you have, I'd sound just like you did.
Man, thank you for having me. It's an honor.
Great having you here, Mark. Thank you so much. You are indeed a trailblazer with a passion for making it happen for your clients. And I'm told that you have over 15 years experience, Mark, in financial advisory and investment strategy. Is that correct?
It is correct, and boy, you're aging me this morning, Richie B, but no problem.
All right, well done, son. Now, Mark, the real estate market is constantly on the rise and currently on the road to recovery. Based on the current global, shall we call it, monetary environment, what can we expect to see from industry players and investors going forward?
So, Richie and Howard, it's a great question. It really sounds like an economist question, but what is happening right now globally is interest rates. It's like an interest rate phenomenon, not just globally, but even in Jamaica. So when you drive around Jamaica now, you'll see like just developments everywhere. But from a global perspective, the 10-year U.S. Treasury, and this is what persons, even Jamaicans, depend to get money or returns on, because everybody prefers fixed rates of returns over the stock market, and you can only get 1.4%, 1.5% on a 10-year Treasury, and even in the U.S., the federal funds rate, the guaranteed rates are at like 0% still, or 0.25%. So, which is equivalent to like our central bank rate in Jamaica. Our Bank of Jamaica is, let's say, it's 0.5%. So since 2015, roughly 5-6 years ago, interest rates have just been so low in the USA and Jamaica that what you're finding is just real estate is worth so much money, or as an asset class, the old adage that they just don't make any more of it. But it's a very serious thing now, because the reality is that the stock market is a bit expensive. It's been going up. But really and truly, there's such little returns on interest rates that so much money has been going into the real estate market, Richie.
Mark, it is a given, I'd say, that countries around the world will experience economic recovery at different paces. But I want to ask you, what do you consider the most impactful factor in the revival of the industry, and how will it affect the market?
Well, the biggest thing is when you look at Jamaica and you look at the tourism fallout that was expected, and Jamaica's been so resilient over the past, let's say 18 months, or since COVID first hit March 2020, April 2020, and you look at Carib Cement's results, up something like 70%, record sales of cement, and the construction industry has been so helpful in being resilient. Our net international reserves, our NIR at our central bank, is over $3 billion now. And you look at what's happening globally. They do say, many economists and analysts do say there's been better real estate deals or better valuations, interestingly, in G7 countries, or let's say regions such as the UK Europe, and in particular areas in the U.S. There's been bigger fall-offs during COVID or the pandemic pinch as compared to the Caribbean. But the Caribbean actually has been pretty resilient. We haven't had, let's say, hotel valuations drop 50% as expected in 2020. We haven't had real estate drop, 50% as persons expected when COVID hit in March and June of 2020, Richie and Howard. So a lot of global investments shifted to, let's say, Europe, the UK, particular parts of the US when you talk to major hedge funds, major pension funds, because the Caribbean actually stood strong, and even in Jamaica we stood strong, especially if you use the public results of Carib Cement as a benchmark and say, okay, we did not see even a 10-20% decline, but other countries globally saw a big hit, and that's where money pushed into. Persons got some huge potential gains globally, but we didn't see that fall off in Jamaica and the Caribbean.
Okay. I have another question for you, Mark, but allow me to bring in Howard for a minute. Howard, it is said that persons born between 1997 and 2015 are referred to as Generation Z. Being the next generation of renters, what kind of changes do real estate firms worldwide, if you can address that, need to make to reach this new demographic?
Well, I'll probably say it this way, Richie, and I hope they understand. If you don't, you need to check your realtor. Let's say this in a snapshot. Generation Z are TikToking their way through properties. They are zooming to properties. They are Instagramly making decisions and virtually moving into their clubhouses without you barely seeing their face.
Okay, then.
I ask you to tweet that. But really, that's what I just mentioned may sound very confusing to some of the older generation of realtors. But if we're going to reach Generation Z or Gen Z, we have to now adopt some of the tools and play in the spaces where they're now looking to do their real estate searches.
Okay, let me bring Mark back in. Mark, how much of an influence does the global market have on the Jamaican real estate climate?
They always said, I would always hear for the past decade or 2 decades, Richie, that, if the U.S. or the global market, but let's say if the U.S., sneezes, we catch a cold. I mean, you'd always hear that. But more and more, it's pretty fascinating. Jamaica with a debt to GDP, well managed, overall, whether it's at 100% or below. Just with the NIR, as we said earlier, at $3 billion US and over, the interest rates at such a record low for Jamaica, and there's a lot of liquidity in the system, as persons keep seeing. You're seeing all these IPOs, you're seeing so much developments around the island, but in particular in Kingston and St. Andrew. So there's a lot of liquidity out there in the public sector, the pension funds, private sector. So really Jamaica has stood up, and persons are fascinated with it, but it's happening for a reason, this interest rate phenomenon and so forth. So for right now, Jamaica is a gem of the Caribbean, and so it always it used to depend a lot on the global markets, or the Eurobond market, when we would tap the debt markets for Eurobonds, which used to be all the rage. But right now, it's really pulling a lot on private sector for infrastructure projects, and infrastructure and real estate, currently is really all the buzz. So we could never go as far, Richie and Howard, and saying we're totally indemnified or we can do everything, just locally or in the Caribbean. But it's really at that tipping point where we're doing a lot now as Jamaicans and for Jamaicans.
Okay, thank you for that. Howie, I was talking to a realtor recently, and he was basically making the point that his role is shifting from day to day in the current marketplace. I wanted to ask you, how important would you say the use of, say, online listings and video and virtual reality is in the real estate space these days?
It's very important, and piggybacking on what Mark said about Jamaica being the gem of the Caribbean, we are now able, through these technologies, we are able to put our offerings on the internet, on the web, through social media or whatever platform. And the Caribbean and the global space, they're able to see what we're offering. And especially since COVID, March, April last year, many persons were not able to travel, but they would still want to see what is happening in our market in anticipation of the borders being reopened, so that they can come back and explore Jamaica and its offerings. And we have seen where the global space has taken to the internet, making their queries, taking all the first steps. The banks are adjusting and pre-qualifying people from overseas, including the diaspora, and just ensuring that when the time is right, they can now come and just clean up or finish their real estate exploits. So being online and putting our inventory there is crucial to how we operate in today's market, because that's where everything is happening now.
We've learned a lot so far. We're not done yet. Right now, the tip of the day reads, pay attention to not only local trends, but international patterns before buying a property. What's happening globally can help to predict the volatility of both the financial and real estate markets in your country. That's our tip of the day. And now it's time for the Deal on the Edge. And I think Howard's got that.
Yes, I don't want to talk too loud, Richie, but because I only want Edge FM listeners to hear.
Okay.
Make this 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom, split-level apartment your new home. Located just beside Spartan Gym, staying in shape is never out of reach. And the property is in a gated community with 24-hour security in very close proximity to CNC South Beach, where you can go and grab a bite to eat. Call and schedule your viewing today with myself, Howard Johnson Jr. You may contact me at 383-4656. That's 383-4656. We're asking 110,000 Jamaican dollars per month for this unit.
You should have spoken a little louder on that one.
Oh, well, let me tell the world.
Okay then, Howie. Good luck with that, son. I don't think that will not be on your hands for very long at all. We're out of time. I want to thank you, and thank you, Mark. Great having you for the first time. We look forward to having you again.
Yeah,
and
thanks for having me. Have a
both
great
gentlemen,
day.
have a great day. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
All right, we're out of time in this segment. Just want to remind you that you can reach Howard Johnson Realty at unit number 15 in the Ligony Post Mall, 115 Hope Road in Kingston 6. And you can call them at 876-620-1457. Their WhatsApp number, 876-339-6282. And if you're interested in that apartment that Howard just spoke about in New Kingston, 876-383-4656. And he can be reached at howard.jr@hjrealtors.com. So you can find them. All right, we thank them for the information this morning. Really, really interesting program, if you ask me. Looking at the topic, the global real estate market outlook. And good job, Mark. Good job, Howard. Have a great day. Thanks for listening.